Okay, hello rail fans, and it's been a while. It's been a quite a long while actually. Um, but main Spessart Bahn's here, and I've been getting right back into the game with it. So I haven't played with it on my main account. It's time to have a look at it on here. So what we'll be doing today is pulling a heavy freight train. Let's make it. What should we make it like? Let's make it a foggy day, clear day, a bit dull and boring. You want something going on. We'll be pulling a heavy freight train eastbound. So heavy that we'll need to stop and get a bit of help halfway. Well, not even halfway. Very early on, there's a very steep hill, and what they used to do was hook up what's called a banking locomotive to the back to give them a shove up the hill. Let's see. Let's make it let's just make it a spring. A cloudy spring day. Bit like today. Well, where I am. So, the ones we want are... We want the ones that go from Aschaffenburg to Laufach. I'm murdering the pronunciations there, I'm really sorry. Goes from Aschaffenburg to Laufach. Laufach, is it? Yeah, I think. Is the first part. The banking loco will attach, will then get pushed up the hill. Let's see, what's this one, or am I going the wrong way? No, that's the banking loco. So yeah, then you get pushed up the hill, where you stop and detach, and then the banking loco comes back down, and you carry on with the freight train. You can break this up into sections, start each one from the menu. As you finish one, just come back here, start the next one, or you can drive the freight train itself and do the whole route through. It's quite good. One thing I've noticed about this expansion, this DLC, is the traffic feels far more dynamic so far than it has before. What I've noticed is you no longer have target times to arrive at stations when you're doing the passenger routes. You've got a fixed amount of time you have to sit there when you arrive, but that's it. So I wonder if that's maybe something they've done to make the traffic flow a little smoother. I thought that would really bother me, not having an actual strict timetable to follow, instead of just having a start time and often an end time, which is only measured by when the thing is due to come back. I thought that would bother me a lot. It's actually not, to be honest with you. I've not found it's made any difference to my enjoyment of it, but there is so much more traffic on the line. It certainly feels like there's a lot more traffic on the line than it has in previous ones. So I'm going to stop talking now, and let's get on with doing some of this driving. So be using PZB as well, and Sifa and all that jazz most of the way. Oh, hello. Yeah, I kind of went all quiet after Northern Transpennine, mate. This is the first time I've been on YouTube in a fair few weeks. I'm glad to hear that, mate. Thank you. It's nice to hear that somebody got some use out of that. And just to confuse things, I'm going to be using a different PZB mode today. Yeah, there's not much out there for us. I've noticed there's a couple of guys doing things now, which is brilliant. I should really stop dicking about here and get this thing set up to go, shouldn't I? Right, so it's a big heavy mixed train. First thing I need to do, this stuff should all be on, but it never hurts to just check it anyway. You still can't reach the AFB switch from here. Okay, I am going to not be using AFB for this because I don't find it works very well with the really heavy trains for some reason. Passenger trains and medium trains, it's fine. We just cycle the brakes on and off to make sure we're good to go. Oh, I know what I forgot to do. Because this is a really heavy train, you need mode U on the PZB, which gives you even lower restrictions, and yeah, you need to turn it. That's better. You should select that. The mistake I made there was I selected the mode after I'd turned PZB on. If you change the mode switch, you need to cycle PZB on and off to make sure it takes that change. So you'll see you've now got the 55, which is slightly different to what we're used to seeing. Slightly different set of speed restrictions, but nothing to worry about too much. Also, don't really need to worry too much about time here. So the main signal's green, but the distant signal part of it there is at caution, so it will expect us to acknowledge it as we go through. It also takes bloody ages for this thing to get moving. It is going very gradually. I don't really agree with playing it without any of the aids, because some of these computer screens in here have got information on them that would be equivalent to the sort of stuff that's up here, so nah, I don't really buy into that either. So just acknowledge the distant part there as we go through. Even without AFB, this is going to take ages to get up to speed. This is about the heaviest train that this thing can pull. Takes even longer if you've got the AFB turned on. It's horrible. I've done this a few times, so hopefully I won't pop the PZB or the Sifa, but just to give you an idea how long this train is that we're pulling. I'm just going to randomly be hitting the PZB button all the way in case we in case I accidentally pass a thing I can't see. I don't want it tripping. Oh, shit, I've just realised something as well. I apologise for my language there. Good job I don't try to make any money off of this. That could have gone badly, because I was reading them as kilometres. Whoops. What else have I not done? Right, we're still well inside the speed limit. Oh, I forget to change it all the time, mate. I think I must have been doing Transpennine last on this. So yeah, that's quite a long ass train that we've got there anyway. Let's finish all the housekeeping chores now. There we go. Forget how long I do when I pass the speed limit signs. I tend to be looking at the track side rather than the HUD for to judge when the back of the train's beyond the speed up point, and it's dead easy to forget how long this thing is. Yeah, leave it on, mate. But I actually, believe it or not, like having the clock there. I find it useful just for keeping more on routes ignored, because I know the route really well. But you can kind of use it to keep track of where you're at. So there we've passed we've got PZB on a 55 limit, so I'm going to sit around 51.50. And we're just going to ease it off because we've got a track change coming up. Oh yeah, didn't know that. Cheers, man. I don't remember that button doing that before. Yeah, that's why I usually turn the brightness way down on that one over there, but no, that's really handy. Thank you, mate. Right, so I'm going to just acknowledge the Sifa, but we're just going to release from PZB because it's a green signal ahead. We don't need to be under monitoring anymore. There's nothing to acknowledge there because it's all green. We're way beyond the second or third pylon up here before we can open the power up. There we go. Oh, I haven't played with a Talent 2 for ages, mate. It's funnily enough, on my main account, it's actually still the train I've got the most time on, because I absolutely hammered that route when the game was new. But since I started using PZB, I'm afraid I've not really played it much, because it's utterly broken on that route, unfortunately. It doesn't work at all properly. So here we are, absolutely full chat, and we're hardly picking up speed at all. This is these trains feel seriously heavy. They're really good. Yeah, I really wish they would fix it, mate. I'll be honest. I think, and I've defended a lot of stuff that Dovetail do, or have done, or have not done. I'm not even going to attempt to defend them selling an add-on loco for that route when the PZB is still buggered. I think that's really cheeky, and I think it's the first thing they've done that's really disappointed me, I would say. But I do realise they're a tiny little team. They'll maybe go back to... I hope they do. I really hope they do. But I certainly won't be buying any add-ons for it. That's for sure. Oh yeah, there's moving traffic now. Reluctant to spend too much time outside the cab, because it's dead easy to miss something, but... Okay, so... Still 5 kilometres out, but the braking action on this thing is interesting, to say the least. It goes from hardly any to loads, but it takes a really long time to change the direction that the energy is going in, if you know what I mean. So if you brake too hard, it's really easy to come to a halt without meaning to, especially when you're going uphill like this. So even at these comparatively low speeds, you have to be a good 2 or 3 kilometres ahead of the train, really. Yeah, I know, man, about the old routes. I think it's more a question of the number of them that there are on the team, and they're choosing to go forward and make a better thing each time. I realised that to go back and fix all the stuff would mean we'd wait ages for another DLC probably, but I think I'd be alright with that, to be honest with you. If the rest of the game was as good as this, I would have no problem waiting a bit longer for the next new thing. And motorways and everything in it now. Certainly feels a lot more alive, this route, than any of the other ones have. So 3 kilometres out, I'm going to start preparing to slow down. What you really don't want to do is, if you know the route, you know your destination and what have you, plan ahead a little bit so that you're not suddenly arriving at a signal and having to stamp on the brakes. So you can see we've got the we've got to proceed with caution up ahead, so I'm going to get PZB'd for that. I knew that was coming because I know there's only one more signal between here and the yard, so rather than having to, you get 40 seconds to slow down, but there's no point treating it like a like an emergency, not an emergency, but there's no point treating it like a shit I've been caught by surprise when you know it's coming. Right, so I could release myself manually from PZB here, but there's absolutely no point, because we've got not just a proceed with caution on the main, but the 4 signal is a full-on caution telling us the next is going to be a stop, or is likely to, but prepared to stop rather. So we have to acknowledge that for the 4 signal part. And I'm just going to shave a little bit more speed off here because I know that we're going into a siding shortly. And you want to be as gentle as you can with the brakes on this. You can slam them on to full service if you need to, but recovering from that takes a bit longer, and quite frankly a bit more skill than I've got yet, because I haven't played this much lately. So there's our banking loco there. This is kind of cool what's going to happen when we get up here. Okay, so we're just going to be rolling it up. You have to be careful up here, stopping fairly close to the. You have to stop close enough to the signal to trigger the scenario marker thingy doodah that's not really there, but it doesn't give you much room. You've got about a 15-meter window between not triggering the scenario and going through that red signal. So there you see the 500 hertz comes on. So on mode U the limits for that are 40 kilometers per hour at the magnet, and you've got about 150 meters to get down below 25, which is about here somewhere, I think. But you'll usually be well below those limits anyway, certainly in this kind of situation. You don't need to acknowledge the 500 hertz either. I'm not ignoring the messages I can see out the corner of my eye coming up either. I just I can't see them properly just now. I don't have them on my PlayStation screen. This isn't really the time to be looking away. Okay, so that's the first part of the scenario, at which point you could go back to the menu and choose to do the bank and local part or just skip to the next bit. However, this is Train Sim World, and there's dynamic traffic thing that they're always telling us about. This is the dynamic traffic at work. What I'm going to do is I am going to just put the train back into neutral. I want to turn Sifa and PZB off for a reason, which we'll come back to shortly. Right, let's have a look at the chat. Yeah, completely agree. It would be awesome. They've proven they could make the old routes awesome if they really, really wanted to, and I would love to see them do it in the future. Who knows? Maybe the game will make enough money on console they can hire a few new staff. That's usually the reason they bring these games to the console anyway, isn't it? Sheer market size. So this thing here, we actually passed that when we left the yard at the start. So once that clears these points, this chap here is going to back out the siding, and then he'll come back up and get us, hook himself up to the back of our train. Let's just see if he moves. Yeah, you could obviously tell I'm a big fan of these of the German routes in particular. And you're right, I've completely fallen for this route again. It's phenomenal, and I suspect I will have quite a few things to do video-wise with this by the time I've explored it all. But this I thought was really, really cool, this whole banking malarkey. And if you make good enough time, there is a bit of a wait up here, unfortunately. Let's just see if the banker's moved yet. The banking loco's underway. Oh, yep, there he goes. I should warn you as well, though, mate. As you can probably tell from my upload history, the streams are not particularly regular or predictable, and I simply can't really make them such, I'm afraid. And they do tend to come in fits and spurts, because I can only say so much about each expansion. I'm not going to sit here and just churn out videos just for the sake of being on YouTube, man. But thank you anyway. It is appreciated. It's nice to know somebody found something useful in all this crap that I've talked. It shouldn't be long until this chap here decides to move. Oh, shit, I didn't want to do that. Camera controls. This is what happens when you mix your camera and your keyboard controls. You press the wrong things. Right, oh, freight train coming as well. And if we open the window... it definitely makes more of a difference than it did before. You can hear the change in the sound. It's awesome when you're driving the freight train that's got the... oh, here comes the banker. Meanwhile, down the back. That's how long our train is. The back end of that other one only just passed. Now, once that's coupled, I find it useful to just quickly stand up and sit down, because there's a couple of things that sometimes happen with this. Train won't move no matter what you're doing, it's to do with triggering scenarios. So if you are driving the dynamic service, do this bit, and then we're ready to go. Now, I'll leave that turned off. What you have to do here is you have to remember to turn the banking switch on. That's basically it. Just make sure that's not reset itself. You can use PZB here. Just make sure that you get a response from the button. Sifa does not play with banking when you do it this way. If you've just started the scenario and spawned in the cab, Sifa will work. If you have connected the banker loco like this, just sat here while it's done everything, Sifa will not play, no matter what you do. So turn it off just for this uphill section. So we're starting on an uphill incline, so this will take even longer to get going than before. But once it gets going, it's fine. Just do not stop on the hill under any circumstances. Do not stop on the uphill section. Once it gets past about 1.6, 1.7 degrees uphill, there is no way to get off that hill other than to roll back down it. And I'm just going to clear the PZB, release it manually, because the main signal was actually green. It's only on because we recycled the system there. Another thing the game doesn't tell you as well, I've been told this by a German train driver, is that when you're banking like this, your speed limit is actually 60 kilometers per hour. Regardless of any other considerations, you never go above 60 when you're in banking formation like this. And you'll know if you set it up properly, because if you forget to press the banking switch, at this point you will be doing around 25 kilometers per hour, and around this point you'll start to slow down. And even with the banking loco attached, now that we're on the steepest part of the incline, as I said before, if for any reason the train was to stop, you ain't getting off this hill except going back the way. And that won't work because you'll go through a red down at the bottom. So with no Sifa to worry about though, we can have a little look outside. I don't need to worry about not hearing the alarms. So basically what banking does is it makes the controls in that rear cab, when you press that red switch over there, the banking comm switch, it basically makes the unit at the back mirror your controls, and for some reason Sifa screws up when you do that, so I can't use it here. Once we've disconnected the thing at the top of the hill, we'll be fine. So let's just It's not part of the Ruhr-Sig, I don't think, mate. I think it's a different part of the network altogether. I think this is somewhere around Frankfurt. It has the destinations from both the Ruhr-Sig Nord and the rapid transit services programmed into the little doobry box up there that you switch locations on. It has all the German route destinations programmed in, but this route, I believe, sits separately from RSN. And I think this route stopped running in about 2017. I think RSN is actually no more either in real life. Which probably made licensing really cheap. That's cool, that's fine. Give it a bit more welly, I think. Oops. It's a whole lot of train. I think the longest train I've seen so far, I've managed to clock about 400 or 500 metres, I think. They were sitting around the same region. The trains look the same, if that's what you mean, simply because Deutsche Bahn is a nationwide state-run network, so the trains in Frankfurt look the same as the trains in Stuttgart, look the same as the trains in, I don't know, Bonn, whereas here every few miles it's a new operator. Right, so we need to just trim that speed. That's fine. So no, the trains look the same all over Germany because it's like the old British Rail. I think back, I don't know how old you are, but if you can remember back to before the mid-1990s, everywhere you went, the trains were blue with yellow bits and those white cross hatches on the side. So that's why it all looks a bit similar. Okay, so we're let's see what we've got. So the distance signal up ahead is telling me proceed with caution, so we're just going to acknowledge that. So we're going into a siding up ahead where we'll drop off the bank in loco, and then we continue on our own. Oops, overdid it with the brakes there. And look at that, full power on, and just the momentum of the braking force takes a while for the loco to overcome, and that's on a level surface. So you can see why you sort of wait until you hit a signal to react to it. Could be bad news. If you have to suddenly recover from full braking force, you're practically stopped by the time the inertia's gone. Could have actually come in here a bit quicker, never mind. Oh, bugger, always... It's the signal around the corner. I always see that signal at the end of the line here and think that's the one I'm stopping at until I get right on top of it and realise, oh no. Right, again it gives you an absolutely tiny window to stop in. Uh-oh. Oh shit. Stop! I should have kept my mouth shut and I'd have looked cool as fuck there. Never mind. Sorry, swearing again. Right. I'm not going to run all the way down the back. I'm going to use the camera. I should have just used the external camera actually. Clicky clicky. Just wait for that to acknowledge that we've uncoupled. That's fine. So this is another little sub part of the service. It completes. Just stand up. It doesn't actually trigger there. And I'm trying to race through this as quickly as I can. What I do at this point, just to make sure that everything works the way it's supposed to, is recycle the cab. Bank and comm off. Just recycle everything, close the circuit breaker, then open it. Let's use AFB this time. So Sifa should work, PZB should work. Just make sure you're getting a response from... There we go. Just make sure you can get a response from the Sifa pedal on its own. You sometimes have to muck about a little bit to get Sifa to work after you've done this. It is annoying. It does work eventually though. So, banking com off. Right, so it seems to be working now. Going to use the keyboard for AFB mostly. Right. Just going to give it full beans to get underway. Right, let's see what we got here. Yeah, I thought I'd run it as well, mate. This takes ages to get going again. It will get moving. That's why I don't actually turn the AFB on mostly, is I find it takes longer to get underway. And it doesn't do so well on the hills either, it has to be said. Not to worry. And because the signal I went through was clear, let's just release ourselves from PZB monitoring. We don't need it. Yeah, it took me ages to figure that one out as well, man. I found that out from Facebook. Right, that's fine. So Sifa's responding as it should. That's always a bit of a relief. Even if it worked in the siding, it's still a relief when it works on track. So we're moving on to a 120 km/h stretch of line. There's some fairly fast stretches along here. However, because I'm running mode U on PZB, I'll not be going above about 100. 105 I think is the absolute max that PZB will allow you to do, but obviously give yourself a wee cushion. I don't think the train can even go that fast anyway with this much weight behind it. Right, so we can open the taps up a little bit now. I find when I'm using AFB with a passenger train, it will do basically exactly the speed you tell it to. With the heavy freight trains, it rarely reaches the target speed, so you can fairly safely set it even, to be even a little bit higher if you want a bit more power. As long as you keep an eye on it, you should have plenty of reaction time. But I've never actually had this thing up to 105. I don't think I've had it clear north of 100 in this config. The medium ones, yes, but in the double header ones, yes, but the long ones with a single loco, no. The stopping distance is insane, mate. That's what I was saying at the start when I was sort of pre-planning my deceleration for the connection to the banker. You have to be really far ahead of this train. If you're doing 100 kilometers an hour and you go full maximum as soon as you see a signal, there's still a chance you're going to get a PZB application because it's just... You need to be really on it. Let's see if we can get it up to a tunnel. We're going downhill at the moment, so we should get up to near enough the line speed. If anything, you need to be ready to help out with the brakes on this. Now, I'm leaving the power on full, just so the AFB has it all at its disposal, because it will more or less hold you going down here. So let's watch for the speed limit change. It's only going down to 120, so it doesn't apply to us anyway. Sifa again. I have found on a couple of signals it's not always easy to tell from a distance whether the little thing underneath the signal mast is going to be a speed limit change or just one of those little information plates that they stick to them. I can see the signal ahead is okay, and if it is, there we go, obligatory outside shot. Which anybody who's not seen one of these things I do before, I'm afraid I don't spend a huge amount of time outside the cab, simply because there's too many alarms and signals and things to be paying attention to inside. Especially because I don't know the route that well yet. Now that shouldn't be protected by PZB, but worth checking. I noticed they've made the signs at the side of the track bigger as well. They're much better, much easier to read them now than it was in rear sig. They've scaled them for usability, not for accuracy, which I think is a good move. It's all very well making it realistic, but if that means you can't read the sodden thing, then you have to ask, is there a point? I've got a feeling there's something up ahead here that's caught me out before, so I'm just not getting too relaxed. Well, maybe not. Oh, where's my train? There's my train. Ah, ballcocks. Right, what happened there was the reason I don't use the outside cameras very often. An alarm went off that I didn't hear, and I got the brakes put on. That was Sifa that did that. Now Sifa will hand back control as soon as you acknowledge it, which is fine. If that had been a PZB magnet I hadn't known about, then that would have been a lot more annoying. But not to worry, recovered it nicely. If that happens, close your throttle, make sure everything, the brakes are off. Just cycle the brakes to position 1, then back off again, then the throttle should apply normally after that. Okay. Turns out there was something to trap me up that bit of line after all. Me. Let's see. Transpenning. Yeah, transpenning was very good. There were a couple of bugs in it that really irritated me, I have to say, and they did put me off it a little bit. I found that I kept losing sound effects, bizarrely, on the 101. And annoyingly, it was the most important ones. It was the air brakes. There was a couple of issues with signals and stuff that kind of annoyed me a wee bit. I think most of that has been fixed now. If only there was more to do on it. That's my only complaint about it. Is when you compare it to the German routes, there just isn't as much to do, which is a shame because it's awesome. But when you look at how quickly that appeared after the poll they did a couple of months before, that was something to do with British Rail liveries or something like that. I suspect NTP was thrown together fairly quickly, in some ways. Or I think a lot of the effort went into a lot more of the effort maybe went into the world, into the and into the trains, and not so much into the services. But that's how it felt to me, anyway. But that's not to say it's not a good DLC. It would be good if they put freight in it, I guess. Well, I guess it would. It was the only thing it was really missing to give it that variety that these ones have got. There was a big patch for it, I know that. Other things sort of came onto my radar after that though, and I just never got round to going back to it. In fact, I didn't even know main Spessart was launching the day it was until I saw something on Facebook about it. Okay, so this there's not always as much to see trackside, I think, on this route unless you actually look for it, compared to RSN. And there is a lot in this route trackside. It's not Dovetail's fault that there are trees next to railways everywhere. Yeah man, love a bit of Elite myself. Sorry, my screen's about to blur out because I'm about to get a notification, I think, or maybe not. Yeah, do love a bit of the old Elite myself, mate. Well, I'm one of the Class 84, but not been playing it much lately, unfortunately. I should be back on that one soon, but I just can't face relearning it all on a pad, I'm afraid. Right, we can pop another 5k on there, I think. I've not even counted my hours. I wouldn't want to. I know between 3 accounts on ED I'm up around I'm 4 figures, that's all I'm saying. See if we can see some looking for traffic. Doesn't seem to be very much. This must be a quiet time of the day on this this line as well, because I have to admit this is the least traffic I have seen on the rail that I can remember. Right, I'm kind of concentrating this last few kilometres in. Different types of train get I don't know if they get quite the same signalling sequences and things on the way in here, and I've not quite memorised the whole route yet. Oh, nowhere near memorised the whole route yet. Who am I kidding? I'm not PTG Rail. Whose videos I would thoroughly recommend checking out, by the way. He does fantastic videos about all the things to look out for on these routes. And I think he's done them for all the Train Sim World routes, as well as the normal Train Sim. Oh shit, wrong button. I'll just bring the AFB down a little bit as we go down this hill, just to make sure it's applying full force. I think actually AFB is probably a little bit better than I'm giving it credit for. It can be a bit dreadful on some sections though. Really steep inclines it's not so much use. And of course I absolutely do not want to touch 105, because if I do, it's just a pain in the ass. I think we're going to be slowing down anyway very shortly. Must be the next signal. 4 kilometres, 2.71 point. Right, yeah, so the next one will be slowing us down almost certainly. In fact, the one before that might even be set for... fucking wipers. In fact, I think there's a reduction just beyond that, so what I don't want to have to do basically is leap on the brakes at the last second and lose, 40 kilometres an hour. It's not that the train can't do it, it's just as I said earlier, it is a pain in the ass to recover from. I wouldn't be this cautious if I was coming in here in a passenger train, obviously. The brakes on those are phenomenal. In fact, I think we've still got a little way to run yet, so yay for the flickery traffic. Well, this is the only point of the game where you're that close to them that you can see that they look pretty shit. Most of the time it looks okay. Right, yeah, I forgot the distance to go. It was going to go up before it came down as well. It's a little like rear signored. It's got a loop in the track basically that takes you away from your destination a little bit before it brings you back towards it. Come on, power. Right, there we go. Yeah. $186 amps. Right, let's kill the FB. Many more amps. Well, actually not that many more amps, but you do, it doesn't restrict it the same way. You can recover a little bit quicker, but that's, yeah, I'm still to get the hang of these heavy trains, braking them properly. Overshooting the PZB limits is really easy with them. However, I don't claim to be any good at driving them, I just know which buttons to press when I go past the lights, that's all. Oops. Alright, we should just be able to coast most of the rest of the way, I think. That said, I do want to get down. Okay, so now we just roll it up to the end, and that's us done. Yeah, definitely a memory test. It's, well, I mean, I've not played much since NTP came out. What, this came out on Tuesday, so what, 2 days or something I've been playing with this. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's like everything is exactly the same, it's just the numbers are a bit different on the PZB side of things. And the actual train performance itself varies. I've done not too badly with the passenger trains so far. Although absolutely assuredly the first time I bring one onto a stream I will make every single mistake I possibly can with it. That's more or less a given. Right, that's fine. You can just apply the brakes anywhere here and you should stop more or less. More or less on the money. Well, near enough. Alright. And all these services end with hop out here without that annoying thing they used to do where if you didn't jump out the right side it wouldn't trigger. It's just as soon as you leave the cab it seems to be done. And away it goes. I kind of like watching it leave from here because I think this camera, more than any of the ones you can access en route, just gives you an idea how fucking big the thing is. Although that guy seems to have found the nitrous oxide button. Right, so that was the full length of the route from, what way did I go? I was going west to east. But I had that much fun, I think I'm going to do another quick run. Maybe not full length of the route, but I'll pick something else to do. What I am going to do very quickly, because that was quite a long time to be sat there, is I'm going to go and fill my cup and empty my bladder, and I'll be back in about 5 minutes. Right, that's better. So, oh, nothing more excited than coffee, mate. Right, let's see what we do this time. Something different. Let's do something with a passenger train. Uh, di- 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 di. So that was, we went from Aschaffenburg to Gemünden that time. I'm not going to do all stops, I don't think. So we'll go back along the line as far as Heigenbrücken, limited stops. It doesn't. We're going about 2/3 of the way back along the line, but we're only stopping twice, and this is on the faster stretch of the line. So let's get this going, and we'll do a very quick setup and go. There's no fixed time to arrive at stations on this, other than wherever the thing ends up, it's going to turn around and come back the other way, and it has a departure time for that. But there's no times in between where it's telling you, oh, you have to be at the station at this time or that time. I think this might be something they've changed to try and make the traffic smoother on the rails, on the lines. Trying to stop situations where AI trains are trying to meet time targets and getting themselves tied in knots at signals and stuff, which has been an issue on some services previously. I know that. Whatever the reason for it is, though, it honestly does not bother me as much as I thought it would when I first saw it. In fact, you don't even notice it now. And if it's the price for the line feeling like there's more stuff going on and what have you, then it's fine by me. So before you can unlock the doors, you need to put the reverser in neutral. Then you've got about a minute to do everything in the cab once those doors are unlocked. Sifa on. PZB on. Close the lines. Why for, I don't know. Just make sure the circuit breaker is closed and the power is on. Turn the coach lights on. Braking key. And I'm just going to use my cursor keys on the keyboard to zoom in here. You can do this from the main screen and just press destination service and it'll tell it where it's supposed to be going. And that is how you set the destination board at the front and back there. Right, so let's get these doors locked and get underway. That's fine, just make sure I get a response from everything. And we're off. Hey, new trick I learned today. Courtesy of Stephen there, thank you very much. I had no idea, I honestly no idea you could turn that off. So keeping it under 45 because the PZB monitoring was on from my left and the signal that I saw was not fully clear, so I'm not going to release myself manually from it at this point. Once it clears itself, then yeah. And you can see the lights have stopped flashing, so it's now released itself from monitoring, so we can get up to line speed. And I can see a clear signal ahead, so we can just give it full beans. Christ, nearly missed another Sifa alert there. So there's a lot of little touches and things that they've made here. The sleepers don't pop up as badly as they have previously. They've done something there where they look a, they're using a different texture or what, I don't know. But it's a lot less jarring having that solid line of sleepers pop up just in front of your nose than it was before, that's for sure. Moving traffic, that's a new thing. I think we'll see some up ahead. It's not like you got Gran Turismo going on next to the train as you go by, but it's functional. And it's a nice touch. There's definitely more traffic, other trains kicking about than I've seen on any other route. Especially at peak times, which we might, 9:18 if we maybe just missed peak times, I'm not sure. I haven't quite figured out all the times and stuff yet. There's more traffic. There, it's. I mean, it's like I said, it's not groundbreaking stuff, but it's a nice effect. It's anybody who used to play flight simulators, or who still does, who remembers when we first started getting add-on sceneries for that. The first time you saw the airport trucks drive up to your plane and the little elevators going up and stuff, it's kind of like that. It's, you know, it serves absolutely no purpose whatsoever other than to make you go, oh cool, they put that in at last. Excuse me. Yeah, cannot recommend having the manual enough, mate. It's, I think the one in, I think they have changed it slightly for main Spessart, and I think the one for main Spessart is actually slightly clearer than the one for RSN. But worth having the one for RSN anyway, because the signalling types are, I don't think there's K signalling down here, I think it's only HV signalling on this. It was much better than the absolutely awful attempt they made for RT. That's fair. I mean, it was the manual for RSN was how I learned how to use PZB. It's perfectly workable. There's just a couple of things I thought it wasn't very clear on, which, to be honest, I can't even remember what they were now. I just remember at the time thinking, huh? I think it was wrapping my head around what the 4 signals could and couldn't tell you in relation to the upcoming mains. I think I should have actually picked the speed up a bit earlier there, but never mind. So 150k is the fastest stretch of the route. Which is still considerably faster than you went on RSN at any point, I think. You just need nice gentle braking with the passenger trains. Certainly compared to the heavy that we just took the other way. I mean, compared to that, this thing weighs about as much as a bag of crisps. Oops, bit sharp. Close enough. It's quite generous with the stopping windows on the passenger routes for some reason. It gives you a stopping window about the width of a cigarette paper for a 3,000 ton freight train, and it gives you a whole platform length on this. But I'm really just I'm complaining about nonsense little things here. Really, there is not a lot to complain about in this so far that I've found. The Sifa not playing nice with a banking loco if you're doing it as a follow-on scenario is about the only thing that I've found so far. Well, we could have been having a wee look around. I do apologise. I've seen this all already and I sort of forget. Yeah, there's the moving traffic in action, which probably looks absolutely brilliant on a £2,000 PC. It does the job. It's all right. I'm not really knocking it. It is, when you're going at high speed and it's going past in a blur, it works. So the limited stop run on this section of the line is basically broken into 3 10-kilometre sprints, and it's fairly quick. It's a fast section of the line. Yeah, everything's noticeably bigger here. Even the not just the actual signposts at the side of the track, but the speed limit indicators on the signal heads and things. I mean that is a much easier one to read than Rus ignored. I would actually almost consider switching some more of the HUD elements off once I know this route a bit better. I drive Great Western without it quite often. Not always, but quite often. It's the only one I know reasonably well enough to do it. Mind you, I've not played that in about 4 or 5 months. I don't think I would run it without any help straight away. Well, that's why I wasn't speeding up. Not paying attention there. Yeah, no, I'm the same with racing games, mate, when it comes to screen displays and what have you. I've got no problem with somebody using, for instance, the green cornering line thing, because that often gives you information, especially in games like Formula 1 and Gran Turismo, Project Cars. The colour of that line is giving you information. The only way you would get that information otherwise would be the G-forces working on your body as you went through the corners, the feeling coming up through the steering wheel that you don't get. So no, I've got no problem with people using stuff like that. It's there is no argument to be made for it's not realistic, because you cannot simulate things like depth perception and peripheral vision. And, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Like sensory input, touch input, haptic input, that's the word. You cannot simulate those on a 2D monitor, whatever you do. So use all the add-ons you want, man. Yeah, exactly. It's really useful for keeping track of where you are as well. Especially if you're doing something that means you're not 100% concentrating on the track. But yeah, I spend most of my time, I don't use outside cameras a lot because I'm usually looking down the track for the next signal or monitoring the speed. So again, there is a lot to see. Unfortunately, you just don't see all of it from here. So it's about 25 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe tops, to do the short run. You're looking at about an hour to do an all stops in either direction, I would think. I've only done it once and I didn't actually time it too precisely. Spent most of my time so far, has to be said, playing with the freight trains. Okay, so we should have a wee distance to go. Where the hell's my camera gone again? Oops. Yes, you just turned the reverser off by mistake. Ah, fucking speed limits again. Right, there we go. Nice one, man. Thanks. It beats work. It beats doing any work, huh? This will not be running for much longer anyway, mate. But well, you'll have seen how the pattern goes. There's new content, so I'll probably be on a fair bit over the next wee while, and then that'll be it till the next one. But no, thanks for watching, man. It's nice to get some feedback. Nice to know it was useful, and catch you another time, hopefully, man. Should have gone that way then, the other way. Never mind. Oh shit, I meant to stop here, I meant to... Totally meant that. Yeah, I mean, it all looks pretty much, I imagine that's more or less how it looks. It's just about to see there was some traffic in the background there. There's not as much stuff right next to the line as there is on Rursig sometimes. A lot of the stuff's hidden out of view behind trees and the like. Okay, so this is just the last little stretch, should only take a few minutes, and then I think that'll be a good place to call it, probably. And there are services that run from Heigenbrücken to the far end of the line. Can't remember the name of the place. So there's short services as well for when you've only got a little bit of time. They've put quite a lot of different things in here for if you've got a lot of time. There's long slow runs. If you've only got half an hour, there's probably something in there as well. concentrate a wee bit because I was all over the place with my speed limits and things before. So usually try to give myself about 5-6 kilometers an hour cushion, so you've got some reaction time. I'm told that is how the train drivers in Germany generally do it anyway, so it's speed reduction coming up. And we're only a couple of kilometres away from the destination, so we just have to be aware of overcooked it slightly with the brakes there. Never mind, I'm still getting the hang of all these things. I only needed to come down to 85. That's what happens when you go from driving 2,000 ton freight trains to 200 ton passenger trains. So I'm just going to slow down to, if there's no other signal information or no other speed information, I'm going to assume 60 kilometers per hour for the current signals. And remembering to acknowledge PZB, and in fact it's 40 for the caution, which is at caution to slow you down for the upcoming sidings that we're going into the junction. We're going over one of the two. But we should just be able to coast in. I'm still thinking in PZB mode M speeds as well. I'm coming in here a bit slower than I need to. It could have been at 50 kilometers an hour still, or 40 kilometers an hour still rather. Okay, so on tail lights, turn you off here. Everything else is off, I think. Besides the platform on. Right, so just checking that the tail lights have come on. Right, might as well just open the doors now. Doesn't matter if we do it now or in a couple of minutes. Yeah, so we need to also... Now that won't actually, it goes to nicht einstellen, which is not in service, I believe, and it'll stay like that until you you can select one manually, or as soon as the activity starts, we should be able to, there you go, Gemünden main. You can flick through them all manually. It's got all the different destinations from all the German routes in it, but just press destination and that's it set. Should just be a wee minute. Oh, right, time to lock the doors. Okay. Don't think I actually need the desk light on, to be honest. And we're off. So this is just straight back down the way we came, same stops, take about the same time, about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, something like that. Again, it's just sort of showing the dynamic traffic in action. Oh, right, okay, I'm not getting... something's gone wrong. Don't have the banking control turned on, do it? Sifa's not working. That's annoying. Might just have to go without it. Let me just check it's not on in this cab. Ah. Right, now it's working. So, a few minutes late, nevertheless. Yeah, it's working now. I should have thought to check that before I moved away from the platform, because that has happened to me in RSN before. Never mind. Right, we're just going to release ourselves from PZB monitoring, so as soon as we clear the speed restriction. Dennis, you can... I don't know if there's a disc release of it or not, mate. I don't really go to game shops very often. It's downloadable on PlayStation Network though. You search for Train Sim World. I don't know if it's on sale or anything just now. Be warned, it is not cheap once you start adding on all the DLCs. They're a very, very small company. And this add-on was 20-25 quid or something. I mean, you get a lot of add-on for your money, I'll say that for it, but yeah. It's not £40 plus a season pass and that's it forever, unfortunately. I don't honestly know, mate. I bought it on release day, and if I look at it in the PlayStation Store now, it won't tell me what the price is anyway. It'll just tell me I've already purchased it. I think it was £30 I paid for it. I can't remember though. I'm afraid. I'm sorry. It's been a while. No worries, my man. Lost my cursor. Where's my cursor? There's my cursor. Now I'm using my keyboard for operating the AFB here, but you can use the clicky draggy thing here if you want it. There we go. And just, as always, I try and give myself a little bit of a cushion. The limit's 120, I'll gun for 115, and so on. Okay, that was a wee bit scrappy, but we're in. Oh shit, wrong door. Ha. What a tube. So yeah, the usual sort of level of detailing you expect from the stations by now. It's a slight improvement on what we had before, like they do pretty much every time it seems. Like these little touches, like, you know, crappy looking cracked walls and things like that. It looks very used railway-ish. Whereas often with these games I find it feels like you're... It's almost like they're made of those sort of models you'd find on an architect's table or something like that. Okay, so second last stage, and this will be a fairly quick sprint as well. In fact, we're just going to, with no PZB restrictions, we're just going to gun straight for the speed limit, more or less. So AFB's fine on a passenger train usually for meeting speed limits and things like that, if you give it time. I wouldn't use it for slowing down for PZB though. It's not that good. Okay, so just watch for the speed limit sign coming up. There we go. It's actually it's much more responsive driving it from this end than it is from the Doppelstock car down the back. Accelerates a lot more quickly, that's for sure. And I don't know how well you can see it on the stream either, but things like the cab sway, the rocking and the bouncing and what have you, definitely more pronounced as well now. Lots of yeah, someone else has green and pleasant lands, look. Has to be said, there's not always a great deal to do either when you're letting AFB do the driving. I like this bit. This is really, really nice, this wee bit as you come through here, the town. So speed limit change coming up, kilometre and a half or so away. It won't be guarded by PZB because it's not dropping to below 100. But keep an eye out for the for the warning post, about a kilometre away usually. There we go. The one thing this is missing compared to Ruhr-Sieg is definitely all the tunnels. There's only one that I can think of on this route, and it's back up there, way up at the other end. We're not going to see it this afternoon. I think my next stream I'll maybe do a full length passenger run though, maybe later on tonight or something. Oops. I always get caught out by that 100k speed limit round that corner there. I always seem to be paying attention to something else when I go past the sign for it. So I'll pick up a bit of speed in this 130 zone, but probably not very much. In fact, we won't be picking up any at all because the signal just informed me that the speed limit is remaining at 100 kilometers per hour. That's what the yellow number 10 underneath it telling me that the next signal, the speed limit is 100k. That'll be confirmed by the white number 10 above it as we pass. So regardless of the line speed going up, the signals are telling us stay calm. That'll just be because of the planned stop ahead. So signal speed's at 10, but the distance signal was also at sorry, the distance signal was also at caution, so that's a fast freight service going the other way. You can drive those as well. Those are they're quite good. I quite like them. The little fast ones you can run in modem for PZB. Okay, let's remember to open the right doors this time. Let's get out and go for a little wander, shall we? Ooh, let's see if we can find the first collectible. I'm assuming there's collectibles on this route. Unless they finally listened to everybody who was saying collectibles are pointless. Why? Why are they here? Maybe there aren't any. I would expect to find one by now on one of these. Yeah, we've checked all the usual suspects. There's nowhere to put any posters or timetables, things like that. Oh well, can't say I'll miss them if they're gone. The only ones I ever had were the ones I found completely by accident. We're going to be late, running out, getting away again. Oh, never mind. Lock the doors, Scott. Oh, Jesus. Oh, man. Okay, so 45 kilometers per hour is the speed limit because we're under restricted PZB monitoring, or normal monitoring rather. No, sorry, restricted. Because we started, because we stopped under PZB, we start under PZB basically. Because the next signal's not all clear, I will not be manually releasing it. And I didn't actually need to acknowledge that signal because it was a main. So although the next signal's nearly 2 kilometres away, I should be able to see the distant signal just around this corner. And as soon as I see all clears, then we'll go. Not expecting to see anything other than clear. Yeah, there it is. Another fast freight. Have to be careful if you're picking from the menus though, because there are some trains described as fast freights that most assuredly are not fast. If you get the car transporter, the one that's all cars, you're better running that as a slow train in mode U. If you're using PZB. Because it doesn't stop quickly enough to satisfy mode M.
Zugbeeinflussung.
And again, wasn't really paying attention to the speed limit changes there. I just made that one. Well, I could have hit the brakes if I needed to, but when you engage the brakes manually, it means you have to completely reset the throttle and re-engage it. It's just slightly less messing about if you can do it without that. So just trim it off again a wee bit for the 110 coming up. It can sometimes get just a wee bit choppy if there's loads of cars on that road next to you, which is a shame, but it's nothing game breaking. And honestly, I prefer it that the world actually does feel a little bit alive, a little bit inhabited. Really need to watch these signals now. We get close. Especially because of the delay at the start, might means there's traffic up here that I'm not expecting. The whole dynamic traffic system certainly seems to work far better in this than it has in any previous pack. So I'm just watching for a signal or a speed limit change. There's one up ahead. So below 85 for the purposes of PZB, but in fact, according to that, speed limit is 60 coming up to the next signal, so we're just going to shed it all now. Because the next signal is only a few hundred meters away. Could have probably left that a little bit later, to be honest, but again, I'm still sort of getting the hang of these. Only had it for a day or two. So there's the speed limit of 60 with a clear main and, well, a proceed with caution main and a caution distance signal. So that means be prepared for a stop at the next one. So let's just make sure we're satisfying all the PZB requirements in case there's a 500 Hz magnet active. Coming in far too gently here. I could have come in a bit more aggressively. Yeah, definitely need to do these runs a few more times, get the station approach a bit more nailed down. Right, just wait for the passengers to finish doing their thing. I wonder if that train that just left was supposed to be this one. I'm still figuring out the traffic, so I don't know if it spawns in a replacement if you're simply not there. Because of a feeling that this was very, very late arriving after all that messing around with Sifa earlier. Let's just get the completion. Okay. Let's just... Oh no, right, so there's due to leave in an hour's time, so I don't know whether that would actually be scheduled to leave in an hour or whether we've missed a slot, so it's given us the next one or not. I just know that the traffic pattern seems different enough to have me thrown a bit at the moment. It's just, there's no need to do all this, but we might as well. The brakes won't release anyway when the thing's in the reversers in neutral. Right, oh well, anyway, that's as good a place as any to leave it, I think, because I'm not waiting around for an hour to start another service, so I'm about to get run over here. Just watch this guy coming in, and then that's probably a good place to wrap it up. Okay, so that's, yes, that is a drivable service, by the way, they all are. No, I don't have time to do it just now. So, that was a fair bit of messing around there on main Spessart Bahn. It's, yeah, so far quite impressed with it, and I'll definitely be doing more on this very soon. So, thanks very much, and catch you next time.